What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're here for some bold predictions for the 2025 rookie class, but we're not going to be doing it alone. We got a special guest here today. It's Derek Brown of Fantasy Pros. So some player analysis, maybe some hot takes, however you want to cut it. But let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into today's video, and let's start talking about these 2025 rookies. DBro, what's up, my man?
What's going on, boss? Dude, I'm so glad you reached out, man. I'm so excited for this show.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. Like I told you off camera, I asked my audience who they wanted to see. Your name came up, and so I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I'm glad to hear the audience wants to hear what I got to say as opposed to the opposite. So,
Yeah,
dude, I'm just glad to be here, man. This rookie class is really good, and I'm excited to talk about it.
yeah, me too, man. So kind of like I said, we're gonna be going through doing some bold predictions, some hot takes, however you want to cut it. Probably things that we're not necessarily projecting to happen, but we think are going to happen or can happen in the range of outcomes. So we'll go through those today. I'm going to give you the honors of kicking us off. So if you have, the first bold take that you want to hit me with it, and then we can kind of discuss, a little bit about each take.
Yeah, dude. I mean, so I'll just kick this off with a guy that I have not shut up about the entire rookie draft process, NFL draft process. I'm going to start this off hot. It's Harvey, baby. He's going to finish as a top 10 running back in fantasy. And I don't understand. Maybe people don't think that is hot. That is not caliente. That is not good enough for hot ones. But if you look at ECRs, if you look at current underdog ADP, all those things, he's outside the top 15. He's outside, heck, in some spots, he's outside the top 24, man. But the thing that I don't understand with Harvey, and I could have gotten spicier with this, like he has top 5 upside in his range of outcomes. If you look at and I understand, people want to talk about Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. Dude, those guys weren't even things last year. They weren't even heavy parts of this offense. And if you can't even carve out a role in this offense with what looked like a shell of his former self in Javonte Williams last year, that's a problem. So I don't think they're going to do that this year. And you look at Harvey, it's the talent, it's the opportunity, it's the draft capital. All things line up, man. So it's like, it's not only is he getting airdropped into an improving offense, which, by the way, scored the 10th most points per game last year. Now, they've got some ways where they can increase the efficiency because they were outside the top 15 in both red zone scoring attempts and yards per play. So an offense that adding weapons like Harvey, Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram is going to be even better ecosystem this year. And it's wheels up for Harvey. Like, he's been top 20 in breakaway and elusive rating over the last 2 years. So we know the talent is there. Pass gain upside with Peyton is there because he's been top 5 in target share to the running back position. It's all these boxes are getting checked. And so, like, when I look at this, Andrew, I'm saying this is a really bold take considering where consensus is. But I mean, it's not that bold to me because I've got the guy as a top 15 back already. Like, I think that he already has this upside.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. Honestly, we did have overlap with Harvey. He's one of mine, so I'm just going to piggyback and kind of give you my take on top of it. But I had it as Harvey, despite being drafted behind Amarion Hampton, despite being drafted behind Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, will finish as the rookie running back 2 this year as a rookie. Yes. Over those guys, and is actually probably going to be closer in total fantasy points to Ashton Jeanty than he is any of the other rookie running backs. That's kind of the hot take that I had for this one, so I'm on board with you. I mean, I looked back at, Sean Payton, rookie season, Alvin Kamara. People forget, Alvin Kamara has been so good, but people forget, as a rookie in a timeshare with Mark Ingram, was the running back 3 overall in PPR league. So are we forgetting that, Sean Payton has history of doing this with rookie running backs? He doesn't necessarily ease them into an offense. And then we talked about the competition there. Tyler Beatty, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, a bunch of guys that really aren't worthy of being on, RB2 type of depth charts for the most part. These are guys that are role players, special teamers at that. And they're not necessarily even guys that should be getting full-time roles. So I think Harvey's going to get the full workload. And I would not be surprised, like you said, being a top 10 overall, being a top 5 maybe, and definitely being, the RB2 as a rookie in his own class right now.
I agree with everything you laid out there. And that's where I have him in my ranks. He's already the RB2 in the rookies for me, behind only Jeanty.
And it's crazy because you look at kind of how consensus is on him, and I get it. This time of year, sometimes the consensus is a little bit lagging because people are kind of starting to check in as far as redraft goes and things like that. But people are going to have to start waking up. I mean, we're talking about Henderson, and Hampton and all of these guys, Judkins, probably being in timeshares as rookies. You know, Henderson's going to split time with
Yes.
Stevenson. Hampton's going to split time with Najee. I know people don't like Najee Harris, but he's going to split time with Najee as a rookie. Harvey has nobody. And that's why I'm totally on board with you.
Dude, I agree with you. I emphatically agree with you. And people because I've even seen Sean Payton talking about Audric Estime. Now, if you look at all even the quotes that he's put out lately about Audric Estime, about like, oh, well, it's an incomplete report card for his rookie season. He just didn't get enough touches. Dude, can we also just use common sense and understand that Sean Payton was the person with his thumb on the finger of how many touches Audric Estime was getting?
Yeah.
So it's like, you were at the control levers, dude. You were the guy that was deciding who was playing on a weekly basis every single game, and he didn't have enough volume. I mean, that's a reflection. That is an indictment upon Audric Estime. And regardless of what we want to say, like, neither one of those guys stepped up last year. Do we think that they're going to do it this year outside of just straight up narrative talk, where it's like, do you really think that's going to happen when a more talented back at this point of his career is now inserted with high-end draft capital? Come on, man. Let's get out of this.
Yeah, I mean, McLaughlin's been in the league for years. He's had injured, banged up Javonte Williams in front of him, so he's had opportunities, hasn't done anything. Estimate, kind of same thing. But hey, look, I'm with you. I'm going to move us to my first, I guess. I kind of piggybacked off of yours, but I'll give you my first hot take. It's probably the least spicy of all of them. To me, maybe consensus doesn't agree, but it's going to be regarding Jaxson Dart, quarterback for the New York Giants. My hot take is that Jaxson Dart will not only be the reason why Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll keep their jobs in New York, but 2 to 3 years from now, we could be looking back for Dynasty fantasy football as Jaxson Dart being the clear consensus quarterback one from this class over Cam Ward, who was the number 1 overall pick.
Now I'm with you.
I'm looking at it and I'm just like, when you think of situation, that is primarily the number one thing that I look at for rookie quarterbacks. I think that translates, it's the easiest way to try and translate success. Nobody in this rookie class, Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck, Cam Ward, nobody has Malik fucking Neighbors on their team that they can throw the ball to every damn play. Malik Neighbors is going to be there for a long time. Jaxson Dart will be there for a long time. He has the rushing upside. He has the big arm. I think he has the coach, Brian Daboll, despite, kind of coming over from Buffalo to be this QB whisperer and then not really doing anything with Daniel Jones. It seems like people have tried to strip away, the label of QB whisperer. Jaxson Dart's a different talent to me. I look at the depth chart, the guys ahead of him, Russell Wilson, 1-year contract, only $10 million. They're not tied to him at all. Jameis Winston, a 2-year contract, $8 million. This is Jaxson Dart's team, and I don't think it's a matter of if Jaxson Dart is going to be the guy that they want him to be. I think it's how quickly is Jaxson Dart the guy for this New York Giants team.
Look, I know it sounds we were absolutely hand-holding on this to begin this, but dude, I'm so with you on this take. Like, I've been in on Jaxson Dart since the beginning of the process. He was my QB2 of the class before Shedeur fell down the board. He is now my QB1 of this class, has been above Cam Ward the entirety of the process. So anybody out there, let's not get it twisted, man. Like, last year, and I think like every single year, we need to learn from draft classes. And this isn't paralysis by overanalysis, like where it's like, okay, I faded Bo Nix. I was not in on Bo Nix last year, and learning with quarterbacks and every process of a draft class and trying to take away what can I get better at. But like, I love Jaxson Dart from the very beginning of the process. I loved his tape, the metrics, the numbers, they all back it up. It's all of the stigma about Ole Miss and the Lane Kiffin stuff and all like I was screaming back in freaking February, Andrew, that Jaxson Dart was going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. Nobody wanted to hear it, then it happened, and now nobody wants to hear that he's going to be good. So however you want to dice this up, it all comes down to, during the entirety of the process, nobody wanted to see Jaxson Dart get the draft capital that he deserved. Nobody wants to see him succeed now. And if he does all these things and he makes starts in 2025 and he plays well, which I project that he will if he gets on the field, then I'm totally with you on all of this.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that I think right now, when I was doing my rookie drafts in a lot of my leagues, my own leagues, we do them right after the NFL draft. Monday after the draft's over, we're already ripping rookie drafts. That's just the way that we do it.
Love it, dude.
Jaxson Dart was going in second rounds. People weren't even drafting Jaxson Dart in the first round. I think that kind of oversight is going to be something that people look back on next year and say, damn, why did I draft Colston Loveland? Why did I draft Tyler Warren over Jaxson Dart in my Superflex leagues, when now in 2026, going into that year, We have him as the clear quarterback one of the New York Giants. He's throwing the football to Malik Neighbors. He has the rushing upside. We saw flashes of that as a rookie because I do think he's going to be playing games as a rookie for the Giants.
Yep.
It's just a no-brainer to me that this is a guy that we can clearly see that positive regression coming his way. And I positive regression, I hate the term, but that's kind of what it is. You know, the value insulation that's going to hit that quarterback in your leagues, trade markets. Go get Dart now because this is the cheapest his price is ever going to be.
Dude, I look at it and I don't understand outside of just echo chamber negative consensus sentiment around him why he's gone so late and I'm with you. And that's one of the reasons, and not to tangent this, but one of the reasons I love doing rookie drafts at the very, very beginning. There's so much EV. If you've been watching these guys, you know where you're at in your ranks, you've updated all that kind of stuff. That's where the massive EV is. I saw Dart going in the second round of rookie drafts too, and I think this is going to be, I agree with you wholeheartedly. This is one of the things we're going to look back on this rookie class and say, I think there's two things fold. One, Jaxson Dart went way too late, especially for a quarterback with rushing upside. That's the other part that, like, I don't understand it. Like, even if you don't like his arm, if he runs for 400 to 500 yards, like when he gets on the field, like in a season, then it's already like he should have never fallen outside of the first round of rookie drafts. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you watch I don't know if you watch John Gruden's QB camps, that's
the snap, the clap thing. Like, every college quarterback claps at the line right now. Like, that's so stupid. Such a
well,
boomer
I was going to go
for
more in the point of Gruden was telling him protect yourself because he is a hard runner. Like, he will try and truck you. He will try and get the extra yards. So I think that's one of the things where he was like, you're running so aggressively. I want you to peel it back a little bit. And so for fantasy, again, the rushing upside is going to make the numbers even better, even juicier. So, that's kind of my bold take there. He's going to be the savior for Brian Daboll specifically. If you watch their draft phone call, he said, I'm betting everything on you to Jaxson Dart. And Jaxson Dart said that's a good bet. So I like that. That's my bold take.
Dude, I love it. I've loved Dart the entire process, so I'm right with you on this one. All right, you want me to sling my next one?
Let's do it.
All right, man. So Mason Taylor will finish with more targets and fantasy points in 2025 than both Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. I'm saying this is a hot take. I mean, you look at whether it's like best ball, redraft, Mason Taylor is not going to go above these two guys, but I'm here to tell people, like, we all come back to what is king in fantasy? Volume. And you're telling me right now, in the offenses that Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren are currently in, with all the players around them, they're going to get more volume than Mason Taylor in their rookie seasons? I don't see it happening, man. So I think Mason Taylor is one of the best values out there in best ball and redraft because he has a clear path to be the wide receiver 2 in this offense for the Jets from the freaking hop. And people are going to say, because the first thing they're going to say about this, Andrew, is, but the Jets are going to run the ball. The Jets are going to run the ball. Because nobody can do well in a Justin Fields-led offense. And I'll point you right back to, we said the same things about DJ Moore. We said the same things about Cole Kmet. And if you want to even look at this from a numbers standpoint, dude, the most run-heavy team in the freaking NFL last year was the Philadelphia Eagles. They threw the ball 448 times last year. If you give it some projection, but considering all the players around him, or should I say lack of players around Mason Taylor in this passing offense right now, are you worried about Al Mazard drawing a 20% target share? Malachi Corley, Arian Smith? No, none of those guys. None of them. So we can project, if I project even a soft, like 17% target share for Mason Taylor, and I'm saying soft, I understand that would be the 8th highest right behind Pat Freiermuth, but look at the complexion of this depth chart. Look at the draft capital that Mason Taylor got. And yes, you can project this. Even if we put and slap the Philadelphia Eagles last year that threw the ball 448 times, which was incredibly, ridiculously low. Even if we say that is going to be what the Jets do in 2025, which I don't think that's the case, even law of averages, they're going to throw the ball more than that. Even with that number of passing attempts, that would give Mason Taylor 76 targets. So what happens if they're just a bottom 5 passing offense, okay? So what if we give them the 5th lowest passing attempts from last year? We give them 500 passing attempts because that would have been the 5th lowest in the entire freaking NFL last year. Okay, so a 17% target share with that number of volume would give Mason Taylor 85 target, Andrew. That would be tied for the 11th most targets amongst tight ends last year. Can we say that there is not a definitive path for Mason Taylor to earn that type of volume in year one? unbelievably think that that is there. And if that is the case, he is going to outscore Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren and finish as possibly a fringe tight end 1 in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm sitting here ripping all these best ball drafts right now over on Underdog, and you can get Taylor in that 16th round,
free.
17th round. He's free. You're drafting him with Cade Otton and Hunter Henry and these other players. And I agree with you when it comes to tight end production and tight ends that I like to target for fantasy football. I have a theory and a strategy that I use, and I need these tight ends to be the number 2 receiving target on their offense at minimum. And so I like to make sure that it's, we got the wide receiver 1, and then I'm looking at my tight end. We've seen that happen. That happened with guys like, for a long time, Jake Ferguson with CeeDee Lamb. We've seen that happen with Travis Kelce, obviously, for a long period of time. Not saying Mason Taylor's going to be Travis Kelce, but that type of target share can find his way to him. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people look at the Justin Fields thing and say, hey, he's a rushing quarterback. He's a bad quarterback. It's not going to work. There's going to be nobody who's valuable. Even people are using that as a reason to kind of fade Garrett Wilson at the moment. And this is an NFL offense. People are going to be valuable. People are going to have fantasy points. And so I agree with you there. I kind of was looking at something similar. It wasn't necessarily, a Mason Taylor take, but it was Colston Loveland. My take was going to be that Colston Loveland splits time 50-50 with Cole Kmet this year. So even if that's a case,
Possible.
Same thing to your Mason Taylor point. I think it just further cements it.
Oh, dude. I mean, it comes down to, because again, everything goes back to volume. And we talk about volume, routes, and snaps. And again, it all comes back to volume. That's all we're talking about here. If you can get in that 80 target range for tight ends and the touchdowns follow suit, you're sniffing somewhere around the top 12, top 15. Then we're just talking about, okay, what does the rest of the position around you do? And what does that do? And then what does the red zone stuff happen? I think there is an easy run out here for Mason Taylor. And I'm with you, man. Like, Mason Taylor is one of the biggest standouts for me because you look at that entire offense, nobody's going high there, even Garrett Wilson. And so, like, with your Justin Fields stacks and best ball, like basically any bet that you make of the tight end position just in general, you're also, like, ipso facto making the bet that the offense is at least competent, if not good or great, because tight ends are touchdown dependent. So it all comes back to volume and the touchdown blood. And I think Mason Taylor has all of this and all these outs where it's like, dude, Loveland, he still has to compete with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, and Cole Kmet for routes. Tyler Warren, we still have to. It's not only just the quarterback, so you want to talk about that, but he's got Michael Pittman, he's got Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, and Alec Pierce above him. So does Mason Taylor have any of that to deal with? No, not at all.
None. I like it. All right, I'm going to take us to the next one. I'm going to go Jacory Croskey-Merritt. People who've been around the channel, they know I've kind of been talking about Jacory as a little bit of a sleeper here, but here's my take. Jacory Croskey-Merritt is not only this year's Tyrone Tracy, but I think he is going to be the running back that we are only talking about in Washington moving forward going into 2026 after he surpasses Brian Robinson Jr., after he surpasses Austin Eckler. And I think by this time next year, your consensus rankings, your KTCs of the world will have Jacory Croskey-Merritt ranked as a top 30 dynasty running back. And he's going to be somebody that everybody wants on their roster. So I'm all in on JCM. I look at the depth chart right now. I mentioned the guys B-Rob and Austin Eckler. Neither of those guys are under contract past this year. The only running back under contract in Washington is Jacory Croskey-Merritt. The other guys on the roster, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, Demetric Felton, a bunch of these guys that don't matter, special teamers. And I think you look at JCM, he's a guy who fell in the NFL draft after not having, the playing time in 2024 because of the eligibility concerns. He's a player that can kind of do it all. Out of the backfield, in between the tackles, outside. He's a player that's going to be very talented, and I think it's going to be hard to keep him off of the football field. As B-Rob's been very unimpressive for the most part, maybe a goal line guy, this year. To me, it just feels like JCM is the guy that a lot of people are not necessarily talking about and don't see the fact that he can go from where he's at right now, where he's running back 60, I think, on Keep Trade Cut, and he can go all the way up to running back 30. In a matter of 12 months.
I didn't know I was stepping into a JCM truther take, baby. I love this. I love this, man. I've been all over JCM the entire rookie draft process. Been talking about him, man. He's one of my rookie must-have draft guys. I love this take so much, man. Like, and I'll add one little point, two little points of context. One, full believer in the talent for JCM. I mean, we're discussing a player that in 2023, when we actually saw him play a full season, was 19th in yards after contact per attempt and 12th in elusive rating. And I'll just say this. The NCAA screwed him last year. Like, absolutely screwed this kid over. If he would have played the entire season, he would have been a 4th-round pick in the NFL draft. That's the draft grade that I had on him. The fact that he fell to the 7th round, don't get it twisted, people. This is not an indictment of talent. This is a smaller school. He didn't come out with an SEC school. He didn't get to play in his final year in college. And he didn't go to even like if he'd have gone to even like the Senior Bowl or something like that. And I know he tore up the shrine, but if he'd have gone even to the Senior Bowl, he would have sitting here. It would have boosted him a ton, man. So just disrespect. Washington Commanders got an absolute steal with JCM. Absolutely agree with this.
Yeah, and you said, tore up the Shrine Bowl. He's the MVP of the Shrine Bowl. Like, he was the best guy at the Shrine Bowl, according to them. So, that's something to consider. And I was wrong. I said RB 60 on Keep Trade Cut. How about RB 79 right now is actually where he's at. So, dude isn't even on the radar for most of the fantasy football community. It's a matter of time.
Pull up my ranking for him.
It's a matter of time. He's a player that I was taking shots on. He's my most owned player in Dynasty right now because I was just taking a shot on him in the last round of rookie drafts, every single rookie draft. Like I said, the most owned player, I think I have him in over 75% of my leagues right now. I'm making a big bet on JCM. Not only am I making that bet, I do think that this is definitely in the range of outcomes. And yeah, does it have a chance of not hitting? He's a 7th round running back, sure. But the value that you have to pay to get a guy like this on your roster with this type of outcome or range of outcomes, it's few and far between. This just doesn't happen that often. I'm all in, man.
Dude, so you said he's 70, RB 79 on KTC?
Yep.
I've got him at RB 60 in my Dynasty rankings. So.
Okay, and I said he can get up to 30 is my opinion on where he's at. Let's just look.
Easy path.
I'm going to go and kind of see the guys that are in the range of him right now. When you're looking at Jacory Croskey-Merritt in these Keep Trade Cut rankings, which whether you guys like them or not, a lot of your league mates probably use them. You want to know the names of the guys that are right around JCM here, Derek?
Oh, good Lord. It's going to be a laundry list of what and why.
How about Sean Tucker, Kareem Hunt, Zach Moss, Elijah Mitchell, Isaiah Davis, Nick Chubb? You want any of those guys, or you want to take the shot on JCM?
Dude, I'm with you, and I'm even looking at Fantasy Pros Dynasty ECR. Cam Akers, AJ Dillon, Chris Rodriguez in the same backfield is around him in ECR for Dynasty. So I'm with you, and even if we want to zoom in a little bit, the guys that are around that RB 30 range in Dynasty right now in Fantasy Pros ECR, Aaron Jones, okay, he's going to age out of that. Travis Etienne, what happens to him? Najee Harris is RB 33. Ramondre Stevenson, RB 36. Tyrone freaking Tracy, once he gets bumped to the side by Cam Scattaboo, he's RB 26. So yes, there's a clear path. If anything happens to B-Rob, he gets hurt again, underperforms, JCM takes over the backfield. JCM, rocket ship, all the way up, baby. Let's go.
100%. And that's why I said 30 is because I went and I looked at KTC, and Brian Robinson's at 26. If he surpasses that dude in his own backfield, I mean, Kamara, Montgomery, Scattaboo, Swift, Charbonnet, these are the names. I think there's a range of outcomes where JCM is right in that conversation this time next year, but it's going to come down to opportunity. Like we said, if he gets it, I'm not doubting the talent.
No, I'm totally with you. And that'll transition us to the next guy. And I'm going to say, look, this guy has a clear path to opportunity. He's got the freaking talent. I'm telling you right now, Tre Harris will be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy in 2025, immediately from the top 24, man. We have a passing attack. Now, we could talk about the talent of Justin Herbert all day. We can discuss that. But we know at this passing attack with Justin Herbert's arm, it's going to be consolidated. What do you have in front of Tre Harris to immediately win the wide receiver 2 role? What, Quentin Johnston, who is basically like a bust, and the Chargers should be happy they got any production out of him, but his per route metrics were still terrible last year. Lots of broken plays creating all those touchdowns. Mike Williams, who proved last year he probably should still be in the NFL, man. Like, I love the talent, like the player, man, but the injuries have sapped all of that stuff, and we're discussing like a guy that was always known as a clasher type of wide receiver winning at the catch point anyway. He can't get open. I don't even know if he makes the team for week 1. Tre Harris has the clear runway and the talent, man. Like, and the other thing I want to throw out with Harris, it's not just a one-year wonder. Like, everybody talks about all of his stats from last year before he left with injury. Dude, if you look at the last 2 years, the guy's been a baller. Like, he's been ranked 1st and 9th over the last 2 years in yards per route run. And how we're framing this Chargers offense, I think, is also possibly wrong. Everybody looks at Greg Roman, they say, he's going to run the ball. We know what Greg Roman's going to do. He's going to run, 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 run. What if they don't, Andrew? What if they don't run in 2025? Looking at a Chargers passing attack last year that once Justin Herbert got healthy, so after week 7, they ranked 11th in neutral passing rate and 7th in pass rate over expectation. So people are going to say, yeah, but J.K. Dobbins got hurt and it was Gus Edwards. Okay, like, I get that they added Najee Harris and Marianne Hampton to that backfield. Yes, could they run more and maybe this isn't a top 12 passing offense? Fine. But then where do we land? Middle of the road passing rates? Okay, didn't we already go down that road of what is enough volume and consolidated passing attacks to tell you that a guy that can still succeed and will succeed even in an offense that doesn't have to be top 12 in passing attempts? So Tre Harris has the runway, he has the talent, he has the quarterback, he can earn targets from the hop. This dude's a top 24 wide receiver in 2025.
Yeah, I like it. This is a player that I had very high in, my post-draft rankings. I will admit I wasn't as high pre-draft, but that landing spot, it's so sweet. And I don't understand how people look at it and don't think that that's about as good of a case scenario for Tre Harris as possible. I can't think of many other places where it would have been better. He's going to complement Ladd McConkey so well. McConkey's going to be able to, work over the middle, kind of do all that stuff. And Tre Harris is going to be this guy that's on the receiving end of that big Justin Herbert deep ball. And that's going to have tons and tons of fantasy points all day long. I love it. I think it's going to be a great spot for him. And even, like you said, the additional competition there, it's a bunch of guys that just aren't really going to be productive. And even if you say, hey, they added Aronde Gadsden and they added Tyler Conklin and these other names where people kind of like the sleeper tight end type of, yeah, no thanks. I'm just going to go Tre Harris, who's the big play guy. He's going to be a guy who can grow in this offense. And I've been taking him a lot in my rookie drafts as well. I'm with you. I think Tre Harris is going to be really good. And I think this was a great landing spot for him here in Los Angeles.
And I think just to tie a bow on this, Andrew, this all comes back to, and I talked about 2 things that are going to be proven unequivocally wrong about this draft class. The second part of that I wanted to tie in here is that this narrative, this wide receiver class was terrible. It was horrible. It was god awful. I think a lot of that's carrying a lot of water for everybody fading a lot of these wide receivers that have talent, that landed in a really good spots, that honestly we were able to pluck out of the second round what they are going way too late in all these rookie drafts.
Yeah, again, like ADP right after drafts, he was a guy that was going like 207, 208, 209, late second round type of guy. I love it, man. I love it. I'm going to go with another guy that was going way too late in rookie drafts, and I'm going to go with Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is not only going to start at least 4 games of football for the Seattle Seahawks here this year as a rookie, but I think he's going to show enough in that rushing upside, the big, accurate, deep ball that he has, that he's going to be drafted as a top 15 Dynasty quarterback next year in startup drafts. I think this is a player, when you look at the situation, everything that we've been hearing out of rookie minicamp, OTAs, is that Jalen Milroe is a baller. He's showing up. He's making all the right reads. He's out there. He's showing the athleticism. Mike McDonald was just talking about how every time he touches the football, it's like he's breaking off 60, 70, 80-yard plays. And I think that's something that Sam Darnold, as much as, I have love for Sam last year, coming in for my Minnesota Vikings and giving us that 14-win season, Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. And I think that was more of the PED, as we call it on this channel, the PED of Kevin O'Connell. He's the performance-enhancing drug for these quarterbacks. We've seen guys like the Pastronaut come in and be able to be fantasy relevant, Joshua Dobbs. I'm just not buying the Sam Darnold here. And you look at the contract, yes, it's a 3-year, $100 million deal. It's a bunch of funny money, man. They can void this. They can get out of it. If Sam Darnold is not producing, they can transition over to Jalen Milroe very quickly. And I look at, the Dynasty early career similarities. Do not hear what I'm not saying. I'm not telling you that Jalen Milroe is going to be Jalen Hurts. But early on in his career, Jalen Hurts, behind Carson Wentz, comes in as the Dynasty quarterback 35 on Keep Trade Cut. Jalen Milroe, as a rookie, not drafted in the first round either, behind Sam Darnold, a mediocre quarterback. Carson Wentz was a mediocre quarterback. Jalen Milroe right now, the quarterback 29. I was able to draft him a lot in my rookie drafts in those third rounds, late second rounds, and I'll be honest, I've been trying to trade for him everywhere that I didn't draft him And I'm willing to give that 26 second round pick. I'm willing to give that 27 second round pick. If you guys are so in love with the 2027 class that that's what you want, I'll give it to you, because I think Jalen Milroe is going to be on a rocket ship as soon as he gets on the football field. Because what we know, we talked about it with Jaxson Dart, the rushing upside, it trumps all. It's the trump card of all of this fantasy football points that we can get from the rushing quarterback. There's no quarterback in this class. There might not be a quarterback in the last few classes that has the Jalen Milroe rushing upside.
So I will say this. This is one of this is the first part where we divide a little bit, only because I'm not a Milroe stan, but I will say this. I can see the path for this take to absolutely hit, and it all comes back to the rushing upside and how much that scores us in fantasy. And the other part about this is, unfortunately, yes, Skull, we're all JJM believers. At least I am. So I hope you are as well.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely not a Sam Darnold believer. So you're telling me there's a world we could live in where Sam Darnold falls on his face because the offensive line is not top 3, top 5, doesn't keep him clean, and going from KOC to Clint Kubiak doesn't exactly keep Sam Darnold playing much better than he actually can? I wouldn't be surprised by any of that. So I definitely could see this, even though I am not a Milroe stan. I've got my worries about him. I'm at or below consensus on with my rookie standing on Jalen Milroe. I could see all of this hitting because Sam Darnold can be that bad, and rushing can absolutely catapult you up the ranks.
Yeah, I'll say post-draft, he was my rookie quarterback 3. He's a guy that I came in at 3, so I had him over Shuck, I had him over Sanders, I had him over all those guys. I'm willing to take the shot on Milroe, and I think, I like to play the game of Dynasty as a stock market. And I like to, you'll notice that a lot of these takes that I've been saying are trying to identify these players that I think are going to see massive opportunities to potentially rise their value. I'm not saying when Jalen Milroe pops, you keep him. I'm saying I think he can pop, and if he does pop, there's going to be some massive value insulation that you can have on his current asking price right now in Dynasty. Because like I said, he's kind of going as QB 30 or behind. A lot of people are just viewing him as the backup, and I don't think anybody in the community is overly in love with Sam Darnold. I don't think anybody really truly believes that Sam Darnold's going to be the guy, but I think there's definitely a lot of Jalen Milroe haters as well, or maybe just people who are not truthers of Jalen Milroe, not necessarily haters, but not truthers, and I think you can still get him at a pretty decent, price. And if this hits, I mean, we've seen it happen before.
Well, I'll own it, and maybe this is owning an L, but I'll just own it. Like you can count me in the Jalen Milroe hater club, and I'm even telling you that there's an out for this. So
yeah.
Take it for what it is. But speaking of guys that can rise up the board, be massive values, where we're talking about can go from basically the dregs of dynasty ranks all the way to the top, man. That's going to lead me to my next guy. And that's RB36 in Dynasty ECR on Fantasy Pros right now, and that's Brashard Smith. And I'm telling you, Brashard Smith can be a top 30 running back in 2025 as the new Jerick McKinnon in the Kansas City backfield and Kansas City passing offense. And this all comes back to, but dude, Brashard Smith is different. His skill set is different than every other guy on that KC roster. And for everybody that says, but he's a 7th round pick, he can't do anything as a 7th round pick, I point you to Exhibit A. I point you to Isaiah Pacheco. So you're telling me that a team drafted a 7th round running back that has a different skill set than every other player in there, and the guys in front of him are as follows: Elijah Mitchell, that cannot seem to stay healthy on the NFL field, Kareem Hunt, who is on his last NFL legs, and Isaiah Pacheco, who is a former 7th round pick himself and cannot stay healthy either, and is not an illustrious pass catcher. And also, after this season, you talked about, Andrew, about all of the free agents leaving the Commanders.
Yep.
After this year, for the Kansas City Chiefs, the only running backs under contract after this season are Brashard Smith and Carson Steele. So, looking at Brashard Smith, man, I mean, the path is definitively there. We're talking about also, for everybody that's not fully aware with Brashard Smith's game, although you should be at this point, former converted wide receiver out of the U, goes and plays his final season in college as a running back. So those pass game skills are still there. That receiving utility out of the backfield and as a weapon is all there, dude. Like, he was 2nd in receiving grade amongst all FBS running backs with at least 20 targets last year, 22nd in yards per route run, lined up in the slot or out wide, 14.7% of his snaps. This guy is a baller. He can play. If he's not Jerick McKinnon, he also has the ability in his range that if Pacheco cannot stay healthy, this guy could take over this backfield in 2025 if Pacheco is not in his way. and he could have an even better season than I'm even forecasting here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. When I was doing my rookie, pre-draft kind of, I like to analytically look at a lot of these prospects first. And you look at Brashard Smith's profile, it's green all over the damn place. His rushing share, green, rushing yardage percentage, receiving share, receiving yardage percentage, total touch share, dominator rating, next gen stat score. All of these things are what we wanted to see for whatever reason. Lance Zierlein gave him a very, very low NFL.com prospect grade. It was a 6. It would have put him right there in line with like Khalil Mullings. Not necessarily sure what he was seeing there, but at the end of the day,
That's dismissive.
At the end of the day, look, I think this is a player who has the opportunity ahead of him. Like you said, those guys there, especially even if you like Pacheco, which I do like Pacheco this year as a value. I think he's being drafted very, very late. I think he can still be very productive this season. You bring it up of 2026 and beyond, and the guys in Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele, Elijah Mitchell, none of those guys worry you from a opportunity share standpoint. It can very well be Pacheco and Brashard Smith this year. And if they don't want to extend Pacheco, I mean, wheels up. I see the pathway you're talking about.
I mean, dude, it's just you're talking about he's one injury away, and Elijah Mitchell proved that he can't even stay healthy. Kareem Hunt only got volume because Pacheco was hurt, and Carson Steele, they didn't want to hand him the role and stuff like that because unfortunately he's just Ryan Nall 2.0. So, I mean, it's all there, man, for Brashard Smith to just be a smash value this year. And maybe in 2026, he's walking into week 1 as they're starting clear every down running back.
Definitely could happen. I like it. I think he's another guy that you could have took advantage of that, early sleeper ADP and got him very late as well. I like that. I'm going to go to my last hot take here. I'm going to go to another running back in this year's class. I feel like we've been talking about a ton of running backs, but I'm going to talk about a favorite for the community. It's going to be Bhayshul Tuten. And I'm not going to talk positively, folks. I'm going to give you a little bit of a negative hot take here. And I think despite being labeled by the community as Liam Cohen's next Bucky Irving, I think Bhayshul Tuten struggles to surpass both Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne on the depth chart this year as a rookie. And I think he finishes with the fewest fantasy points of all of those guys here for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. Look, I'm looking at the depth chart. Like we said, it's a crowded mess. Bigsby, Etienne, even LaQuint Allen, who I liked in this year's draft class that they added in the 7th round. You bring him in. Over on Keep Trade Cut, all of these guys are clustered together. Tuten is actually the highest rated player in this entire class. So I'm saying, the highest rated player is going to be the lowest scoring player. You can get Bigsby and Etienne for free right now, it feels like, especially Etienne. And then earlier, before we shot the show today, Liam Cohen's sitting at the presser, and he's talking about all of that trade rumblings that you're hearing about Travis Etienne. It is wildly inaccurate. That is not what we are trying to do at the moment. We like everything he's been coming into the building and doing. He's doing it the right way. He's explosive. We knew this about Travis Etienne, folks. It feels like people saw Etienne last year in a very bland, boring Jaguars offense that wasn't, it wasn't creative the way that Liam Cohen is going to do it. It also didn't have Trevor Lawrence in the back half of the year. Let's just be real. It was Mac Jones, guys. And so Etienne, banged up, bland offense. Everybody seems to have forgot what Travis Etienne is, and he is the explosive guy, outside zone type of runner. I think he's going to excel. Maybe this is turning more into an Etienne take, but at the end of the day, Bhayshul Tuten, to me, this is a player that's overvalued currently, and I think you're going to be able to get him much cheaper a few months from now when he doesn't outperform those guys in his own backfield.
I mean, I definitely think there's a reality that this can happen. I mean, and you didn't even bring up what I mean is really the biggest knock on Tuten. And that comes back to fumbles, like 9 fumbles over the last year, 26 percentile hand size. So if you're talking about how he can literally, pardon the pun, fumble away his opportunity, that can happen. And
did it the first carry at practice when he showed up to rookie minicamp. First carry.
He did. And I think the guy's got talent. I think he can make noise here. But the thing that I think is getting lost, and not even like as a pro Travis Etienne take, because I'm not, I understand and I respect your take on Etienne. I'm not in on him, but the other way that this fails is the player that we're not getting enough respect for, who was one of the most efficient per touch running backs in the NFL last year, was Tank Bigsby. He was really freaking good, and everybody had to own. Like, I was in on Tank as a prospect. He went out and he didn't have the rookie season that I hoped for, but then he exploded in year 2. and was breaking off big run after big run after big run after big run. And then again, we're not giving him respect walking into this season, as I think he's the out too, where it's like, if you want to talk about how Bhayshul Tuten doesn't take over this backfield, is that a new head coaching staff comes in and says, as we've gone through this, Tank, it just keeps making big plays, and we trust him in the passing game more than the previous administration did. So there's multiple outs for Tuten failing here. I'm in on the talent of Tuten, but I also understand the risk that he presents. So I can definitely see this happening, even though I do like the player in Tuten. I can see this happening. And if it's not ETN that crushes him, could be Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I said this year in 2025 as a rookie. I think Tuten is a player that you can bet on in 2026 and beyond for sure after Travis Etienne is officially off of this roster, because he is at the end of his contract here this year. It is a contract year for him. So, you know, I'm not out on Tuten. I think he's a very talented player. Again, another player, when you look at the analytics, he checks a lot of the boxes, not all of them, but he checks a lot of them. The RAS score for sure, one of the better ones in the class. Like, this is a player who's hyper athletic. It's going to come down to ball security. I think right now it's a little bit too crowded, and I think people are a little bit over their skis when it comes to the hype train. And maybe it's the recency bias of, yeah, we saw Liam Cohen take a day 3 guy and turn Bucky Irving into everybody's favorite dynasty running back. That's a dime a dozen, folks. You know, it doesn't happen every time. And quite often it doesn't happen most of the time. So Tuten, I like him. It's a deep class. That might explain the day 3 draft capital. If it was a different class, maybe he's a day 2 guy. But overall, I think this year we might need to pump the brakes on Tuten just a tiny bit.
Yeah. I'm totally in on that, man. I could definitely see that. So I'll wrap this up with my 5th guy, my final player that I'm going to sit here and talk about and hype up here, man. And I'm telling you right now, 2025 Jaylin Noel can be 2023 Tank Dell in this Houston Texans offense. And all he needs is an injury to Christian Kirk to get on the field and then just not look back, dude. I think it was dismissive. It was horrible. It was ridiculous that he fell as far as he did in the NFL draft. He goes out, he crushes the combine, he crushes the entire process. He goes to Senior Bowl, and nobody could cover this guy. He was open every single play. And the one thing that I want to point out to people is that in the process, people talked about his size. They talk about him being a slot-only player, which I think is incredibly dismissive of Jaylin Noel's talent. I want to bring up one stat here that I don't think was discussed nearly enough in the entirety of the draft process. Jaylin Noel last year, amongst all FBS wide receivers, finished second in the nation in deep receiving yards. So all these narratives and parts and pieces where people talk about, well, he's just a slot receiver. He only operates in the underneath. He can't stretch the field. Oh, okay, cool. But he's got 4.39 speed. Oh, okay, cool. And he's got physical strength. Oh, okay, cool. And he was top 3 in the entire freaking nation in deep receiving yards last year. And it's littering all of his all 22. Come on, man. Jaylin Noel just needs the opportunity to get on the field, and if we have an injury to Christian Kirk or anybody else in that passing attack, which I don't want to forecast injuries. I don't want Nico Collins to get hurt again. I want Jaden Higgins to stay healthy. I want Christian Kirk to be a healthy and productive player. But if any of that happens, if Jaylin Noel, and as soon as Jaylin Noel hits the field, he is going to earn opportunity. He's going to earn even more opportunity. He's going to be a very trusted weapon, both in the short, intermediate, and the deep passing game from CJ Stroud. Noel has the talent. All he needs is the opportunity. And this take absolutely happened.
Yeah. No, look, when they drafted Jaylin Noel, to me, it was very clear what that was, and that was the Tank Dell replacement. Unfortunately for Tank Dell, it does feel like, you know, it is a very slim chance that anything gets back to normal for him, unfortunately.
I hate that, but you're right.
I think at the end of the day, this was the, hey, we're going to draft Tank Dell's role again with this player. We're just going to re-roll those dice. Often as we do in our Dynasty Fantasy Football League, sometimes we re-roll the dice on a different guy. I think that the, you know, Houston Texans went out and did it. When it comes down to it, man, I think not only do I agree that Jaylin Noel is undervalued, and once he hits the football field, he's going to prove a lot of people, I think, wrong about the draft capital that he got. It was puzzling to me that he went a little bit later. I also think this is a player who, if it doesn't happen, the injury doesn't happen to Christian Kirk or whatever it may be, Christian Kirk's not on the roster in 2026. So again, when we talk about buying and selling and trying to project value insulation, this is a player who, whether or not the injury happens, the value insulation is almost guaranteed to happen. So it could be now, it could be next year. It's a matter of not if when. I said that for Jaxson Dart. I think it's a matter of not if or when for Jaylin Noel as well.
I'm not trying to intertwine another take, but I do want to bring up one more thing about Noel, is that I feel if you look at where all these wide receivers are, the New England Patriots are going to regret, much like they did last year in selecting Jalen Polk and not taking Ladd McConkey, and we can dice that up for days.
Yeah.
But very similar mistake in this year's draft class. They are going to regret drafting Kyle Williams over taking Jalen Noel when he was still on the board.
I like it. Even though I like Kyle Williams, I do like Kyle Williams. But I agree too. I think like I'm not gonna dive in and get another take as well. I was gonna start talking about Jack Besh as well, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. We'll leave it at that. So I think we've got through all 10. We've got through 10, right?
Yeah, I think we're somewhere around there.
Yeah, we're somewhere around there. The title of this video is going to say 10 no matter what. So whether you guys want to count it at home or not, you get 10 on the title. Look, DBro, let's recap these real fast for the people. For me, my bold takes were Bhayshul Tuten does not surpass the 2 running backs on his depth chart in Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne. I have RJ Harvey where I piggybacked off of your take where I think he's going to finish the rookie running back 2 and closer to Ashton Genty than he does the other running backs. I got Jalen Milroe playing as a rookie, also going to be a top 15 quarterback because of the rushing upside in startups next year. I have JCM as the running back to own there in Washington, a top 30 guy next season. And then Jaxson Dart is going to be the savior of the franchise and the savior of Joe Shane's and Brian Daboll's job. Also probably the clear consensus QB1 in this class when it's all said and done.
I'm with all of that, man. Love all those takes. Mine are RJ Harvey will finish as a top 10 running back in his rookie season. Mason Taylor will finish with more targets and more fantasy points than both Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren in 2025. Tre Harris is a wide receiver 2 in fantasy football in 2025. Brashard Smith is the new Jarrett McKinnon in KC and is a top 30 running back in fantasy points per game in 2025. And to wrap it all up, Jalen Noel 2025. Jalen Noel is 2023 Tank Dell.
I love it, man. All right, folks, that is 10 bold predictions for you, 10 hot takes for the 2025 rookies. As always, if you guys like today's video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you also go hit that like button as well. It is the best free way to show this channel some support. And make sure you're a member of our free Discord. DBro, where can they find some of your stuff at if they want to tune into some of your content as well? Where can they find you?
All things and stuff at fantasypros.com. Currently, I still have my top 100 up for rookies. So that's 100 skill players, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, all written up for rookie drafts and what have you. I'm currently diving in, moving over to the best ball and redraft stuff. I will, before week 1, have my top, it's going to be top 150, top 180 players written up for everybody, perfect draft targets, all that kind of stuff. But all the things and stuff can be found at Fantasy Pros.
Perfect. All right, guys, go check out DBro. Make sure you do those things I asked you for. And then at the end of the day, we'll see you on our next episode. Until then, peace out.